Okay, so let's dive in. We are really going to unpack a single crucial word today.
Just one word. But it comes at, one of the most intense moments in the entire book of Genesis.
Absolutely. Think about the context. Jacob has just survived 20 years working for Laban, which was just oppressive.
And then he has to navigate this terrifying reunion with his brother Esav.
And as if that's not enough, he literally wrestles with a celestial being, the Angel of Esav, and it leaves him with a permanent mark.
And right after all of that, after all that trauma and danger, we get this one verse in Parshat Vayishlach, Vayavo, Yaakov, Shalem, Shechem.
Jacob arrived at the city of Shechem, and he was Shalem.
Whole, complete, intact.
So the simple reading, and this is where all the classical commentators start, is that this is about basic survival.
Of course. He made it. He got through the danger. The phrase they use is like someone escaping from between the lion's jaws. His family's safe, his possessions are safe, he's safe.
A happy ending, but this is where the deeper analysis always comes in, right? It raises a huge question.
A really tough question. Because if you remember, Gator already gave Jacob this ironclad promise years earlier.
Vehine anoki ima kushmartik bechol asher telek.
Behold, I am with you and I will guard you wherever you go. It doesn't get more explicit than that.
So if Gator promises absolute protection, then his survival is, well, it's a given. It's a foregone conclusion.
So why does the Torah need to tell us he arrived Shalem? It shouldn't be a Chiddush novelty. It just sounds like the Torah is reporting on a promise that was, obviously kept.
What are we missing here? What's the deeper layer?
I think what we're missing is the internal cost of the journey itself. The big insight here is that Shalem doesn't just mean he was saved from danger.
Okay.
It means there was a repair of the deficit, the Chisaron, that was created by the spiritual work he had to do.
Wow. Okay. So the promise to guard him deals with the external threats, Lavan, Esav.
Right.
But the word Shalem is about healing the internal cost of fighting those battles. That's a huge distinction.
No. It's a profound one. It's a promise that goes so much further than just simple protection. And that's why Rashi, to really explain this, has to break it down into three parts.
The famous three dimensions.
Shalem beGufo, Shalem beMamonno, Shalem beTorato. Whole in his body, whole in his wealth, and whole in his Torah. And we really have to look at all three to get the full picture.
All right, let's start with the first one because it feels like the most obvious contradiction. Shalem beGufo, whole in his body. But he wasn't whole. We know he walked away from that wrestling match with a permanent limp, the selato. So how can the Torah possibly say he was whole in his body?
And that's the essential tension we have to confront. The answer, it lies in where the injury came from. Gideon's promise protected him from Laban and from Esav's the man, the clear external human threats.
Right.
But the limp didn't come from Esav. It came from the Sarshal Esav, the Angel of Esav.
The spiritual opponent, a completely different category of threat.
Exactly. And the Ramban explains this angel was actually sent from above. It wasn't a punishment.
Yeah.
No. It was sent specifically to awaken something inside Jacob. His deep capacity for Mezerut Nefesh, for self-sacrifice. It was a nisayon, a test.
So the injury wasn't a failure of Gideon's protection at all. It was, like a byproduct of the test itself, the physical mark of an intense spiritual battle?
Precisely. And the Chiddush, the real novelty of saying he arrived Shalem beGufo, is that even though the test caused the wound, the completion of that mission also brought about the complete healing of that wound.
So the limp was healed.
Rashi says it was completely nullified at the end of the work. The external wound healed because the internal mission was finished.
That reframes everything, doesn't it? For our own lives, it's just that our sufferings, our Yisarim, which we often see as just random bad luck, might actually be that spiritual pressure, that nisayon from above designed to bring out a strength we didn't even know we had.
Yes. And the guarantee of Shalem beGufo is that the wound from that process is temporary. It gets completely healed once its spiritual purpose is achieved. That's the message for us in our own galut, our exile. The pain is real, but it's not the final word.
Okay, that's powerful. Let's move to the second one. Shalem beMamonno, whole in his wealth.
Right.
Again, there's a problem here. He had to give away a massive gift, that Doron, to Esav. He basically bankrupted himself just to appease him.
He spent all those years building up this wealth, and then he has to just give away a huge chunk of it.
So how can he be whole in his wealth? And this is so relatable.
Oh, absolutely. Anyone who is engaged in the work of Birur, refining the material world, which is just another way of saying earning a living, running a house, building a career.
You feel that deficit constantly. The sacrifice of time, money, energy, that's our modern Doron. the gift we're always giving to the world just to function.
It is. So on the simple level, Shalem beMamonno means GG, just, filled up his bank account again. He compensated for the loss.
Okay, simple miracle.
But the deeper level is about transformation. It's about quality, not just quantity. Jacob's wealth wasn't just stuff. It was the accumulated sparks of holiness he had elevated during his 20 years working for Lavan.
So he wasn't just surviving the material world, he was actively transforming it.
Exactly. That's the whole point of the work, to turn the material into something holy. And when we leave exile, both on a personal level and a historical one, we don't leave our stuff behind.
We take it with us.
We take that refined materiality, that beMamonno that's been spiritually upgraded by our hard work. Our possessions become part of the jola, the redemption.
Which makes the daily grind, that feeling of giving away our duran, so much more meaningful. We're not just losing resources, we're engaged in a process of elevation.
We are. The transformation of the material is a core part of becoming complete.
Okay, this brings us to the third piece, which you said is maybe the most important. Shalem beTorato, whole in his Torah. And Rashi's definition is so specific. He did not forget his learning in the House of Lavan. Why is that the ultimate achievement? And why the specific mention of Lavan?
Because this, right here, is the definitive solution to our original question about the divine promise. And it speaks directly to that tension between our inner life and the outer world.
A House of Lavan.
Why Lavan? Because Lavan isn't just a place. He represents total immersion in distraction and deception in the crushing, exhausting burden of material work.
20 years. You can just feel the exhaustion in his words when he says his sleep fled from my eyes.
That's the image. His body, his beGufo, and his wealth, his beMamonno, they descended completely into that exile. They had to. They were on the front lines, getting beaten up, being given away.
And the central tension is, well, it's the question we all ask ourselves. When the outside world demands so much, when the job and the bills demand everything, does that cause you to forget who you are, to lose your spiritual center?
It's the ultimate fear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Am I losing myself in all this necessary work? Am I forgetting what actually matters? And Jacob's answer, which is a ma'aseh avot simon labanim, an action of the fathers that's a sign for all future generations, his answer is a definitive, crushing no.
He did not forget his learning.
He did not.
Yeah.
And this is the profound declaration that our inner core, our essence, remains completely untouchable.
So there's this incredible split, the externality of a person body, money. It goes down into exile to do the hard work. It gets the limp. It pays the doron.
But the inner self, the soul, the Torah, it stays completely, eternally whole.
It was never handed over to the servitude of the kingdoms, the shibud malkut.
Never. We might feel busy, we might be exhausted, we might feel completely drained physically, but all that occupation is only happening in the outer layers of the soul. The interior, the deep memory, the spiritual core, it remains sealed, preserved.
That's the ultimate promise of resilience then. The pressure damages the shell, but it just cannot get to the core.
It can't. That is the true meaning of Shalem beTorato. Not even 20 years in the House of Lavan could create a spiritual deficit in his essence.
Okay, so let's use that. Let's go back to our first question and bring in the contrast with Abraham, his grandfather.
Right. When Abraham traveled, he also got a divine promise of protection. No decrease in his family, his wealth, his name.
And that promise was kept. He was protected. But the Torah never says, Vayavo Abraham Shalem. It doesn't use that specific word.
So why not? Why is it so essential for Jacob, who had a similar promise of protection, that the Torah has to add this extra emphatic three-layered point? Vayavo Yaakov Shalem.
What's the extra Chiddush for Jacob?
It's because Jacob's Shalem is a novelty that goes beyond mere survival. Abraham was promised salvation from any potential lack.
Okay.
But Jacob's journey reveals a much higher truth. It teaches that even while you are deep in the struggle, while you have the limp, while you're paying the doron, you are not just surviving.
You're doing something more.
You are actively completing the deficit. You are revealing the inner inherent shlemut, the total completeness that was there all along and was never actually affected.
Wow. So it's the difference between being protected from the fire and realizing the fire was there to refine you and that your core was never flammable to begin with.
That's it. That is the definitive answer. And it's the ultimate promise for every single one of us navigating our own lives. Wholeness isn't something you get after the struggle is over. It's revealed during the struggle.
Okay, so let's bring this home. Let's make this really practical for everyone listening. We all have our own House of Lavan.
Absolutely. It's that exhausting project at work. It's that financial stress that feels like a constant duran you're paying to the world. It's the sheer exhaustion of your daily routine. That's our spiritual work.
So here's the mission for this week. Think about one task, one area of your life that feels the most draining, the most limping for you right now. And as you do it this week, change the intention. Don't just get through it. Do it with the deep awareness that you are using your outer self to refine the material world for a higher purpose.
But here's the most important part. While you're doing that, you have to make an internal declaration. You have to say to yourself, my spiritual essence, my soul, my Torah, the real me, is not subject to this servitude. It is whole.
It's at the level of did not forget his learning in the House of Lavan.
Exactly. You declare your core untouchable.
And that internal declaration of completeness, recognizing the wholeness that was never actually broken, that's our true Shalem.
And it's that revealed wholeness, that integration of a refined outer world with the preserved inner core, that ultimately brings the Gula Shalema, the complete redemption.
As we wrap up this deep dive, just think about the source of Jacob's injury one more time. It wasn't random chance, it wasn't bad luck. It was an angel, a spiritual force sent as a structured test, a nizon designed specifically to awaken his inner strength. So if the challenge itself is fundamentally meant to elevate you, imagine taking that one persistent struggle in your life right now, the one that feels like your perpetual limp. Instead of just trying to get rid of it, what if you reframed it as your own personal angelic testing mechanism? How would that shift your focus from the pain of just enduring it to the profound discovery of the power that this very challenge is forcing you to unlock? Think about what hidden strength that limp is trying to reveal in you.